Mm-hmm. My man, William Satterwhite. Yeah. Where's my man, William Satterwhite? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Where's what? Add William. How did you join, William? William, what's going on, my man?
Nothing much. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Can you see me?
I can see you. Okay.
All right. So I guess let's go and get the 900-pound gorilla out of the room. What happened to Alabama, man?
You tell me what happened to Alabama.
Uh well, let's start. You know, I think really Alabama's kind of searching for an identity in some aspects. This team is not the finesse team it was the past couple of years ago. Going to that fourth quarter in that game, I've seen this play out so many times. Alabama team hadn't played well, made mistakes on defense, starts taking over in the second half, got it set up to grind it out in the fourth quarter, and for some reason they kept throwing the ball. Robinson was punching A&M right in the mouth. They couldn't stop him. The A&M's defense was tired.
Well,
I don't know why.
I know that they got back into, but how did A&M jump out? I didn't see the beginning of the game. How did A&M jump out ahead?
Alabama had made I kept falling asleep during that game. Alabama had made so many mistakes in that first half of that game. It was a comedy of errors. Really. And then going in at I replayed it so many times in my head through there. I don't you see the start of the second half. You see when Alabama blocked the punt and then A&M got the onside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember back because I fell asleep at the start of that game, and I really can't remember what it was that A&M got up 24-10 on them. Now, because I've just been replaying the second half so much. Alabama had a bunch of missed tackles in that game. I don't think their defense is as strong as what it was in the past. But I don't know what's happening with them. Like I said, I think the team is looking for an identity.
Definitely. Now, with Alabama having lost, this sets up because we have been talking about how 100% there was probably going to be two SEC teams in the playoff. Are we still looking at that, or how badly would potentially Georgia have to, what would Georgia have to lose in order to not make the playoff at this point?
Oh wow. You'd have to have I think a total collapse by Georgia. I mean, now that'd be saying.
I mean, are they pretty much in no matter what happens in the SEC championship game, assuming that they're still undefeated? And of course, we got a big one this weekend that might determine that. But let's assume that Georgia's undefeated on SEC championship weekend. Are they in the playoff no matter what?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, barring, yeah, I mean, because you would have to have, that would almost mean that Alabama or A&M or somebody would be fighting for their way in. I think with the SEC championship game, then wouldn't it? Barring that you keep Kentucky, Georgia out totally.
You would think if Alabama can win out and be a one-loss team, if they were to hypothetically beat Georgia in the SEC championship, that's basically that would basically set up the SEC still having the two playoff teams.
Right.
But like I said, how it would Georgia be even losing that SEC championship game? Do you think they would still be unlocked no matter what, or is there hypothetically a degree to which they could lose that game and be knocked out?
I mean, you're talking about they'd have to fall from first to fifth. That'd be a long fall.
That's what I'm saying. Is it like, say hypothetically Alabama beats them 50-0, and let's say the Big Ten ends up with undefeated or one-loss champion. Either the champion, and let's say Oklahoma is hypothetically still there undefeated, and Cincinnati's still there undefeated.
But what if you got a 10-2 A&M there?
Well, oh, you know what? No, because how many losses does has A&M got one S? Who has A&M lost to?
A&M lost to they lost to Arkansas and they lost to Mississippi State.
Okay, so they have two losses. So
yeah,
Alabama would have to lose twice for Texas A&M to get to the SEC championship.
Yes, Alabama have to lose twice.
So Alabama still have the tie, not the tiebreaker. They still have the edge on that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like I said. It's like I said. We have a big one this week. I don't know if that game is in Athens or if it's in Kentucky. Do you know?
I think it's in Lexington.
Okay. Does that give them do they have a chance or what's your take on that game?
I don't know. I mean, if they've got enough up front to stay with Georgia, that team is so physical up front. I mean, I'll give them a puncher's chance.
Were someone saying that it's in Athens?
Okay. Well, if it's in Athens, you definitely got to go with. I would go with Georgia, either one of them. I mean, Georgia's so physical up front, man. That front
I know
seven.
Georgia's defense is going to be it's going to be a low scoring game. Kentucky is going to have trouble scoring no matter what. Yeah. But I wonder because I know that Kentucky has a pretty good defense. And Stetson Bennett has shown that against anybody but the most stout defense, he can he can do enough to produce points. I just wonder if Kentucky's defense is good enough to give him problems, or if he's going to run all over him.
I, you know, it's just I don't know. I just don't know. You know, I don't know if Kentucky just has it up front. You know,
Like I said, I'm saying right now, Kentucky's not going to score more than 3 times. Kentucky's not going to score more than 3 times, whether it's combination of touchdowns, field goals. Kentucky's not scoring more than 3 times. My only question is, can Kentucky prevent Bennett? Can Kentucky prevent UGA's offense from scoring more than 3 times with Bennett in there instead of Daniels? And we got another comment saying that Bennett is more. That's true. Bennett is definitely more mobile than Daniels. And to me, Bennett is a great quarterback. Let me not say great. Bennett, if they get past Kentucky, I don't think UGA would need to bother with Daniels until a hypothetical SEC championship game. He has shown me that he's that good of a quarterback that he can beat anybody except for the most stout of defenses.
okay, I'll go along with that. I don't think Kentucky can stop them from scoring 3 or not more score them up more than 3 times. Unless it's 4 field goals. And that's provided Kentucky gets a touchdown and 2 field goals. I mean, Kentucky's close. I just don't think they're there yet. And that's no knock on them either. I mean, what they're doing.
No, it's not. I mean,
you're having them in this conversation.
Well, you got to think about it. We have seen the last 2 years, the SEC champion has been in the running for, and the SEC champion / soon to be national champion has been in the running to be among the greatest the greatest teams in college football history. Could UGA be? Could we possibly be in the midst of that type of season for UGA?
I mean, the teams from the SEC definitely aren't getting any worse. So, yeah, I would think you would have to say that they're in the upper echelon. I mean, it seems now that each year when we get up there and we start saying, is this team the greatest ever? Is this team the greatest ever? Is this team the greatest ever? How do you start differentiating from, one year to the next? And there's so much talent on every team now.
That's exactly. It's almost like I said, when 2019 LSU, they were throwing the ball all over the place, and you never thought that you would see something like that, especially with an SEC team. And then Bama comes back the next year, and they're doing the exact same thing. And now UGA is doing it a little bit differently, and we haven't had to see them open up the offense to that effect. But that defense is arguably, I saw an article today, I didn't get a chance to read it. I saw an article today that was saying that they might be the best defense of all time.
Georgia, I mean, they've got a great defensive team. I mean, they run to the ball, they're physical. I mean, they're fast, they hit you. I would have not thought they would have. I didn't think they was gonna knock Auburn around like that. I really didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I was expecting that game to be. And we've got a comment here that Georgia is way better than Alabama defensively this year. Alabama isn't near as good defensively this season as I 100%. I think we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, last time we were together, is that is this maybe a side effect of Nick Saban having opened things up on the offensive side that has maybe adversely affected the defense?
Oh yeah, I've always said that you can't be a finesse team and still keep that physicality up front. I don't think it's possible because you're not seeing it every day in practice. Um, One thing too, and then Alabama's lost a lot of players. You know, you got to keep remember that. You know, that's a product of yeah. You know, he's got all these great players, but they're also freshmen. So I mean, eventually, I think that's going to catch up too.
It's eventually going to catch up. We got another comment. Georgia isn't fully healthy yet on offense. They got receivers. Yeah, I don't know. I think is Pickens out for a whole season, or is he expected back?
One of them's supposed to come back this week. I can't remember if it's Pickens or I can't remember all three of those players' names. But yeah, Georgia's I forgot Georgia's. You know, got three backups in on receiver.
Okay, so I think you're saying that Pickens is expected back. So yeah, you got and like I said, we've got Daniels has been out just about the last 3 or 4 weeks, and they haven't missed a beat because, like I said, to me, Daniels is of course the taller. He's the more classic drop back passer, but he's been, like I said, Bennett to me is a poor man's Russell Wilson. He's or maybe not Russell. He's a poor man. This is really going off the beaten path, comparing him to a Hall of Fame NFL quarterback. But he's kind of like a poor man's Drew Brees. You know, kind of a shorter guy. And the only time he's really going to have problems is when you've got that big physical front that A, can get after him, and B, make it difficult for him to see over the line. But if you don't have that, if you're not Alabama last year, if you're not Florida last year, he can pick you apart.
Good observation.
He's saying that Pickens is going to be back this week or the next. So you got Pickens that's going to be coming back in, and they might the defense. Like I said, the defense has been outstanding. Like I said, I saw people. We're getting into best of all time territory as far as the defense goes, and the offense is just getting humming. The offense is just coming into stride. So I hate to say it, I hate to see it, but this might be a magical season for those boys in Athens.
Maybe. Does Orgeron make it through the season?
You know what? I've said this a couple of times I've said this. As a matter of fact, I think I've said this every time we've been together. What USC did to Helton, I would not. I'm actually surprised LSU hasn't done the Orgeron yet, because if it's obvious, if it's clear and obvious that he is not really the man, outside of having a perfect coaching staff, where unless you're going to go get Joe Brady back, and unless you're going to go get Dave Aranda back, what's the use of keeping Ed Orgeron around? So I would not be surprised if he doesn't get canned before the end of the year.
I mean, especially if you're targeting two people and both of them's in the SEC West. What's the point of keeping Orgeron?
Yeah.
And you know, if one of them's you sure don't want to see him hurry up and go to USC, because I'm sure I've already heard rumors talking back and forth.
Well, it's kind of funny if you remember when they're saying that I guess another Georgia receiver is going to be back soon, Blaylock. But if you remember, LSU got into this is almost the exact same scenario LSU was in when they hired Ed Orgeron. Was that
Tom Herman?
Tom Herman was was it Tom Herman that they were trying to get when
wasn't he the guy who went to Texas from Houston?
Yeah, Tom Herman. It was Tom Herman. Yep, they jumped out. They fired Les Miles, were in the catbird seat to get the head coach that they, should have been able to get whoever they wanted. And then Texas swoops up, get big Texas money, and gets Tom Herman. And to this day, I think LSU kind of settled for Orgeron. It's like I said, it's kind of the opposite because USC jumped out ahead, but now is LSU going to pull a Texas on them? Is LSU gonna jump out there and say, hey, you're not going to get the head coach that you want. We're going to get the head coach that we want, and leave USC in the dirt, in the dust.
I mean, I would go ahead and make that move because when they fired Miles and hired him, I was like, man, you're trading him for him? I would have kept less over that guy. Like you said, Gene Chizik.
He's Gene Chizik with a Cajun accent.
That's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, I don't know.
I heard one of the big national writers tried to, because that comparison has been going around, and one of the big national sports writers was trying to argue against it, and he was basically saying that that Orgeron has a better record than Gene Chizik does. Okay. But Orgeron, but I want to say that has a little bit of an asterisk to it because it's dismissive. The way that they were talking about that record, it couldn't have been factoring in his Ole Miss tenure. And I want to also say that they were taking into account Gene Chizik's Iowa State tenure. So the records were because, correct me if I'm wrong, but he only had 1 year before the Joe Brady, Joe Burrow year, correct?
No, he went 9-4, and then 10-3,
9-4,
and then 10-3, and then had that year, and then 5-5 last year, and then what he is now. But remember, he was 6-2, then went 9-4, then went 10-3.
Okay, the 9-4 year. Who did they? Who? I guess what I'm getting at is
they lost to Troy that year.
They lost to Troy.
Yeah, and they lost to Alabama, and one of those years they lost to Texas A&M in like a 74-72 game where they actually doused Orgeron.
I remember that, and that's the game where the Jimbo Fisher's nephew poked Steve Craigthorpe in his pacemaker or something like that.
Yes. But the 10-3 year, they took a step back because they finished, I think, third in the West. They went from 6-2 and 9-4 to 5-3.
I guess that's what I'm getting at is in those the 9-4 and the 10-3 year, Ole Miss was probably, because that's when the Ole Miss was going through their issues with the coach that's gone now. And Mississippi State, I don't think Mississippi State was that good, were they?
Let's see, that was 16-7. All right, so 16 is when he got fired. 17, Mississippi State wasn't that bad in 17 because that's the year they took. I think that was the year they took Alabama into the fourth quarter, up 24-17. Alabama won 31-24, and then he left. So then they had that guy. Was it Joe? What's his name?
Joe Moorhead.
Joe Moorhead, yeah, and that's when they weren't horrible, but they should have been a lot better than what they were.
They were not, like I said, there was, because I remember that was because Moorhead, I believe, was only there for 1 year or maybe 2 years.
He was there for 2 years, and that first year,
both him and the Ole Miss coach got fired after the Egg Bowl.
Yeah,
they both got fired after the Egg Bowl when they had that big fight, and there was the Egg Bowl. I think the Ole Miss wide receiver peed on the ball, or he faked peeing on the ball or something, and that got a penalty that ended up, and it just became a big embarrassment.
They had because that first year they were loaded on offense. I mean, they had everybody back on offense. They had a great defense, and I mean, you talking about laying an egg on offense, and this guy, he had to be one of the worst fits I've ever seen to come to be an SEC coach I've ever seen in my life. I mean, bring him from the.
I want to say it was a big it was a big surprise when he got hired for that job because he's got no Southern ties because he's out in Oregon now, I believe.
Yeah,
But he
he was
had
like
no.
the offense coordinator at Penn State, right? When they brought him
Yeah,
in,
he came from Penn State,
he was an Ivy League
and
guy.
he was at I don't think it was an Ivy League school. I think it was like Holy Cross or one of those northeastern one of those big northeastern schools that's not quite Ivy League, but they're kind of like just a level below the Ivy League as far as the brain stuff goes. And he was, like I said, he had no Southern ties, and it was just a really odd fit. And like I said, I want to say he only lasted a year, but
It was
basically to
two
get to my
years.
point about Orgeron is that his 9-4 and 10-3 years, I'm not sure you can really compare those to if you want to say a typical 9-4, 10-3 SEC West type season because Texas A&M was on the downside. Because Jimbo's first year was the 2000 or was 2019, correct?
Let's see. No, Jimbo's first year would have been 2000 and was it 2017 or 2018? So this is
Has he
Jimbo's
been there
fifth
that
year.
long?
Yeah, this is
I
Jimbo's
didn't
fifth
think
year.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that goes against a little bit what I was trying to say, but like I said, I still don't think that it was really I'm not sure that it was really a typical SEC type season. So I'm not really sure that those are. I'm not sure that you can really say that 9-3 and 10-4. I mean 10-4, 10-3 and 9-4 are really that impressive.
Well,
His
and
his
especially they
his
were really no
10-3 and
different than
9-4.
Miles. I mean, Miles, less teams were that good or better.
Yeah,
So it was really kind of a step down, during those kind of like, wow, we got rid of Miles and we got, we're actually stepping down here. We're losing to Troy. This is not this is not good. The distance is separate. The distance is getting wider between Alabama and because that was the year that 2018. That was the year that Alabama was undefeated, and LSU was undefeated, and they went in there and I think they were both number 1 and number 5, number 1 and number 4, and Alabama was up like 22-0 at the half, and it was just a blowout.
mm-hmm.
And the gap was getting wider between Alabama and LSU. They closed it, of course, in 2019, but then you've seen what's happened the last 2 years. So.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but other than the miracle year, like I said, where I'm as far as I'm concerned, Joe Brady gets all the credit for that. Other than the Joe Brady year, has he been competitive against Alabama? I don't think I don't think they've been that competitive against Alabama during his tenure, have they?
The first year when he took over, Alabama beat them 10-0 in Baton Rouge. Then the next year, I think it was 24-10. And then the next year is when Alabama just blew them out there. And of course, the next year was the miracle year with Brady and them. And then last year, but no, I mean it's still Alabama. It's still Alabama's thing.
So, like I said, if you're LSU, you have to look at it. If you're LSU, if you have a head coach you have to have because he doesn't provide you any. He's not like a great offensive coach or a great defensive coach on his own. Because if I'm not mistaken, he's never been a coordinator.
Right. That's why he's always been a defensive line coach.
Yeah, he's always just been a defensive line coach. So you're not getting any. It's not like it's not. It's not like he's a Mike Leach, where you can say, "Oh, well, you know what? If we can get him a good defensive coordinator, that's half the battle."
Mm-hmm.
He needs to have a great defensive coordinator and a great offensive coordinator. And to me, if you have a coach like that, like with Nick Saban, it's one thing because Nick Saban has proven that if somebody goes out and hires my offensive coordinator, I'm going to go out and get a better offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Nick Saban has that track record. He's always upgraded you know, he's always found a way to get better as opposed to get worse. Like I said, Orgeron, he landed on a lucky hire in Joe Brady, and I want to say Dave Aranda was already there when he got the job, was he not?
I think so, yeah.
So he didn't. So as far as I'm concerned, Ed Orgeron, he's a coach who needs great coordinators, and he hasn't shown that he can actually hire great coordinators. So if you're LSU, pull the plug on him.
I agree. I mean, because you're gonna have to make that next move. Make that next move, and go ahead and get that thing rolling with whoever you want.
It's like you said. I'm saying that USC should hire him, or LSU should try to hire him. But if Lane Kiffin is still going to be at Ole Miss is just going to get better.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mike Leach might never get Mississippi State over the hump. He might not ever get Mississippi State to be a elite team, but as long as Mike Leach is going to be at Mississippi State is going to be good enough to beat LSU in any given year.
Yes.
And then
they've already done that twice in a row.
Yeah. And then Texas A&M, Jimbo, he's going to have Texas A&M going. Bama, as long as Nick is going to be there, Bama's going to be Bama. And Auburn, Brian Harsin looks like he's going to have Auburn in a good place. So if you're
Sam Pittman at Arkansas.
Pittman at Arkansas. So like
that's a program that should have never been that far down. Arkansas should have never been the worst program in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, you would think it would be hard to do that, but Bobby Petrino can work some magic. He can work some magic for the good, and he can work some magic for bad.
Yeah, he's Petrino's something else, man. He's Petrino. I guess that's the way to say it. So what we've covered. Anything else to touch on in the East? Florida or South Carolina, Tennessee?
Other than I think I said it last time we were together, Tennessee looks like they're a little bit ahead of schedule.
Yeah, they do.
But I don't think anybody out there is good. I hope that Florida can put it all together in a couple of weeks or next week. But I think the East is pretty much a cakewalk.
Let's see. Let's go to ACC. Why did Matt Brown blame? Huh?
Why?
I got to touch on what Matt Brown. He blamed the media for the loss against Florida State.
You know what? I kind of understand what he was saying.
What was he?
Because it's basically, but it's at the same time. While I understand what he was saying, you shouldn't say it because, if North Carolina was sitting here undefeated or with just one loss, he wouldn't be saying anything about the media having expected them to be, having this great record. So you got to take and Matt Brown is a former member of the media, so he should know better. He should know that that's what the media is going to do. You either take the good or you take the bad. You got to take it.
Yeah, I mean, this got to be so disappointing for Matt because thinking there was going to be a.
But now I will say this: I did think it was silly to make North Carolina a top 10 team, just because. But in looking back on it, I think that last year screwed everything up with the COVID, and that outside of Bama, Clemson has shown that they weren't that good. But even like I said, matter of fact, I don't even think we could have put Bama. Nobody should have been nobody should have come into this season expecting to be great based off of last season, because everybody lost something.
Yeah.
Everybody, and the one top team in the country who didn't lose their quarterback, they probably just benched them last week, and that's Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So like I said, you have all these top teams were coming back with new quarterbacks, and then nobody saw it. Even the guys who did get experience last year, somebody one of the big media people pointed this out a couple of weeks ago, and it really makes a lot of sense to me. And matter of fact, I think they were talking about the Clemson quarterback, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But they pointed out that while he played last year and he did well last year, it was in an empty stadium. He had never performed inside of a stadium with fans in it.
That's true.
And I want to say
that.
and I want to say that's the same problem that Rattler is having at Oklahoma. He played and he showed out last year, but it was in an empty stadium.
Yeah.
And even while that can affect you on the road, it can also affect you at home, because your own fans start getting on you. How are you going to react to that? So all of these guys, none of these quarterbacks who are playing right now have ever dealt with a full stadium. And that's why, like I said, I think that the whole North Carolina is a perfect example of why there should have been no preseason rank. I don't think preseason rankings should be a thing anyway.
Yeah.
But especially in a year like this year, preseason rankings were absolutely meaningless, and they were absolutely worthless.
Yeah, I totally agree. 100%. I mean, yeah. So let's jump out there to the Big 12. I mean, what about that Oklahoma-Texas game?
That was a wild one. I didn't get a chance to see it.
I think it's 52-51. Where'd my man William go? Let's see here. There's William Satterwhite back. Let's see here. Here's William. Looks like I temporarily lost my man William Satterwhite out there. We was talking about Texas and Oklahoma last week. It was a 52-51 game. And let's see. Man, William. Close this one. We'll start.